Christmas and welcome to DIY with Janelle. I'm so happy you're here. I'm going to take you along with how I made my ornaments and how I put it all together. Now, I kind of procrastinated in getting my tree together. I didn't really have an idea of which direction I was going to go. I pulled out all my old stuff and nothing was kind of flowing. So I went to Hobby Lobby, I went to Joann's, I went to I think I went to Michael's and Walmart, and nothing was standing out. So I had to make my own. And there were certain things that I had on stock. I picked them up from the craft section at Hobby Lobby, and I will go into detail where I got it and how much I did it. And I also want to say this year we've experienced a lot of loss, and some of you may experience a lot of loss, but I wanted to encourage you to find joy through this season. 18 years ago, we lost our mom, December the 14th, and it hit our family. It was tragic. She had been suffering from cancer for so many years, and during the holiday season, it just was rough. And every year, I would basically just do it for the kids, and it was challenging because it just reminded me of the loss of our mom. But I know through the years of just kind of remembering her memory, remembering who she was, remembering the things that she did, just kind of brought joy. And so I want to encourage you to find joy, even if it's just in the small things, and to make this Christmas special. So as we go on this journey of making our DIY ornaments, I'm praying that I can inspire you to be creative, to take those little things that you may have at the house or the dollar store or the craft section at Hobby Lobby to put something together beautiful for your home. So I bought this assortment of beads from Amazon. It has 5 different sizes. I have 4 right here because I didn't use the very tiny itty bitty ones. And I'll put the link in the bottom of the description. I have an upholstery needle. Then I have the twine or jute that came in the bag of beads. I threaded in. Now you don't need an upholstery needle. You can use tape at the end and just make yourself a point and then create your design. I just started off with the small one and went up until the big one, and then I went backwards until I got to this design that I wanted. Now, after doing a couple of these, I kind of struggled with how I'm going to do it, but I looped the top first and I made a knot and then cut off the excess. Then you push it all towards the knot and you cut off. Now, I would recommend kind of longer than you expect because depending on the size of your jute, you're going to make a knot, one knot, or 2 knots. Some of mine came through, so I had to make 2 knots. And if it's too short of a string, then it's going to slip right through. And here's the finished product. Super easy, great craft for kids. All right, here we have my decorated foam balls. I got these foam balls from Hobby Lobby in the crafts department. I used a 40% coupon on it. And I got this ribbon from Michael's. It was a Black Friday sale for 70% off. And I got these there as well from Michael's. And I got a variety of different greenery from a variety of different places. These are from the dollar store. This pick is from Hobby Lobby for 50% off. These berries are from Hobby Lobby as well as these small picks from Hobby Lobby. I got this greenery from Walmart. I believe these were around $1 or $1.97. All right, so my idea for these balls were just to wrap them up in ribbon, but as I got to
getting on the project, it became a little bit more complicated than I expected. So here I am just cutting it to strips and trying to figure out how I'm going to put it all together. So you can just watch as I put them all together. I cut off the wire on the side. Thinking that the wire would get in the way. However, after my second one, here I'm just putting ribbon on. You can just put strips of ribbon. On it by sections. The glue was extremely hot. And I burnt myself. A couple blisters. And there's no real science to this. You just put down ribbon. Glue, ribbon. But you just have to continue putting strips. Until the whole entire foam ball is covered. And once it's all covered, then you can go ahead and add different embellishments that you want to match your decor. I use this jute from Hobby Lobby, and I just put in strips, and then I just clean off the excess, Could have made a knot to hang it on the tree, garland, whatever you want to hang it on. Just a simple knot. Just glue it to the very top. After you've set it all up, then you can go ahead and decorate it, add your greenery, add your berries, add whatever you like to do. Or you can add ribbon, add some charms. It's endless of what you can do to decorate it. I love these frosted berries. And here you go. Finished ornament.
So then I got my wooden beads again, and this time I put tape around the end to thread it through. I wanted to kind of create like a little wooden bead ornament, a tiny one to hang on one of the foam balls. I found it's easier to twist it in. I didn't get my tape tight enough for a nice clean, and my needle was too big to go through there. So this worked really good. Make a knot, nice and tight. And then I added it to my foam ball. See, I got smarter here with my popsicle stick. So after struggling with this, I decided not to cut the wire off, use one strip, and decided instead of doing 6 of them, I will do 3. I will do something else with those other 3 that I got in my package. cut little notches out, thinking that might clean it up a little bit. I'm not sure if it really saved it, but either way, glue, the ribbon, things that covered it up. So in the end, it was all fine. Okay, so again, it's time to decorate. I just made my loop, get my little knot, and I think the decorating part would have to be my favorite part. The ribbon, the glue, the amount of times I got burned. Can't say that was my favorite. I almost did not want to post this because it was such a headache trying to get these ribbons on and the glue and everything, but I thought it would be good because sometimes you get this idea in your head and you think it's going to be amazing and then you think it's a total flop. But after I hung it up, you can't see the imperfections in it, and despite of the struggle that I got to making it, I'm still happy with how it turned out. Here I'm just adding a little bead ornament of 3 different sizes that I made. And here it is. All right, we're going to move to my painted glass ornament. I would have to say that this is my favorite. I got these glass ornaments from Hobby Lobby. They are $6.99, but 50% off. This was in the crafts department. And then I've had these for years. Always hung on to them, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do. Those were $7.99. And this acrylic paint is again from Hobby Lobby, and I used a 40% off on that one. So I'm going to fill them up with paint, take the little topper off, and you're going to pour a generous amount of paint inside. Now, this is a great craft to involve your kids in. You want to do like a Christmas decor fun night. This would be a great thing to do with some food, some Christmas music, and just laughs. This would be a fun night. And all you're doing is tapping it around and just filling up the entire glass bulb. You'll notice that there's little spots that are not painted. You just tap it around, you keep on moving it around until you get to where you want. Now, I like to use a generous amount of paint. That way it's less tapping, or maybe just because I'm very impatient. Okay, you'll notice the top here is not filled. My auto zoom. There you go. So you just keep on tapping. And it's beautiful. So what I did, I took my empty box that held my ornaments and I just put them upside down in there, and if I had a lot of extra, I would just dump the filled up paint ornament into the empty one, but it can get kind of messy for that. So if you have an empty tray or if you have a cup, I would get like clear cups from like maybe the dollar store or something, and you can put it upside down in that, and that way it would hold it and you could see it and let it dry while you're working on a different project. adding more paint. See how much I put in there? It's quite a bit. Kind of makes the filling process go a little bit faster. Now, if you're worried about the paint coming out, you can put maybe your finger over it, or if you want to put maybe a piece of tin foil, whatever it is. But I didn't have any problems with paint coming out. I just kind of mixed it up and rotated it and tapped it, and it filled it up perfectly fine. All right, I'm going to go to the round glass ornament. Now with this one, you'll notice that I rotate it and it seemed to flow better, so that way it gets the top portion. That always seems to be the more challenging. I just rotate it and fill it up, and then just kind of flows down and fills it up so nice. And here I use the same idea. I just put upside down in that plastic tray and went on and continued filling the rest of them. This is a great way of adding your color in whatever decor theme that you're doing, and very inexpensive. So they were at 50% off. And you could do marble, and there's so many fun ways of different colors that you can utilize. You can even add glitter, and I believe it's floor wax. I haven't tried it yet, but you can add glitter without getting the glitter all over your house, but get the glitter look. That would be a fun craft. Now, I wasn't thinking straight when I put it in there because I didn't have anything to scoop it, so I used my foam brush to scoop it back into. It worked fine. It got a tiny bit messy, but not so much. But I would use like a little cup and maybe a spoon or something. I think that would be a little bit smoother and easier, but this worked fine. So I created these song titles on my silhouette, and I measured exactly what I needed. And so here I am just putting the vinyl on my glass ornaments, and I use this amazing transfer paper. I'm going to link the company in the description. I love this transfer paper. It I can use it for a variety. I can reuse the same transfer tape. I can reuse the same transfer. It's an easy application. Joy to the world. So the Y was kind of buckled a little bit, and so I used my little scraper tool to smooth it out a little bit. And everything. Now, sometimes with a skinny font, it's a little challenging, but this was perfect. And here they are all finished. All the vinyl on there. So the very, very tiny wooden the wooden bead from the Amazon order, I tried to create this wreath for maybe the foam balls, but after putting it all together, it didn't work. It didn't look nice. I wasn't happy with what it looked, so I just set it aside, and you'll see how it works for the glass beads way better than it did for this project. So that's why you'll see a different background scenery. And I think I used about 12 beads to make my little wreath. And I just made a knot at the top. Okay, so there it is. And I start with that first because I wanted to offset it on the other side of the word joy. And so I glued it in place and then add my greenery. The same greenery I got from Hobby Lobby that I used on the foam balls, as well as the frosted berries, and I just kind of eyeballed it. Wherever I liked it, that's where I went. And again, this is where you can get creative. I used the extra jute just to go around the top. Sometimes the glue gun doesn't stick well to glass, so I put some extra jute so that my greenery and my berries would stick nice. So I used a combination of Hobby Lobby, Amazon, and the dollar store for this one. And I just tied a hanger. Again, I just made a knot. Super simple. And here's the finished product. So I kind of played around with different ribbon that I had just to see what I wanted to do, kind of look that I wanted. But it seemed like the greenery was the best look for what I was going for. And I try to make them all a little bit different. I don't like everything to be exactly the same, so each one has a different touch to it. Same type of theme, but a different way of doing it. Here I'm adding a pine cone. So on the the round balls, I just wanted to put one word on there. So I created in the Ray Dunn, this is called the Skinny font. I created this on my silhouette, and I just, different words that came to mind that I felt like describe Christmas. I just created them with my vinyl, cut them out, and then this is the weeding process. I use the same transfer tape as I did in my earlier vinyl. Here I just use a popsicle stick just to kind of make sure that it was on the transfer paper very good. You can use whatever you have, and it peels away very nicely. Now when you're doing a round object, it gets a little tricky, especially with the O. I really struggled with the O, but you'll see I'm going to cut away the vinyl in the between. It just kind of gives it a little bit of wiggle room. And so I cut away, and I start right in the center, and I work my way out, and I don't apply the other letter down until I got one down already. So I got my E down. I'm going to work with my L. Now I'm moving on to my N. But the O was still giving me problems, so I figured let me just finish getting this word in, then I'll work on that after everything else is done. So I kind of pinched the O at the bottom. So yeah, I pinched it down the bottom. It wasn't clean. It wasn't a nice flat, how it normally would be flat. So I let it just kind of fall the way it was going to fall, and just make sure there was no bubbles in it, and just adjust it as I went. And use your fingers to kind of smooth it out a little bit. I use my tool, and that would be probably the most, the challenging part of it, is to get that O. So I pinched at the bottom and just kind of made it flat. My L had a bubble in it, so I just used my tool to smooth it out. Going to love. I figured I'd do all the hard ones first. So the O, again, was giving me problems, but I peeled off the transfer paper so I can have a little bit more control over it. Wasn't cooperating, so I decided to cut the top off, or slice it down the middle. You'll see here in a minute. And then cut the little tip off and laid it on top. Now, if you were to look close, you could see, but you can't even tell. All right, these were way easier. So much easier. I didn't even have to cut the transfer paper because it was just so much easier. Did I say that already? It was so much easier. This one too was a lot cleaner, didn't fuss with it too much. Wasn't happy with the way the E was sitting, so I just kind of pulled it up as much and just shifted over a little bit, and it was perfect. I was very happy. I just made this simple buffalo check ribbon bow on the top and just hot glued it to the top. I didn't want anything. This I got from IKEA, and I just put it a simple hanger, a simple knot, and it was done. Super easy, super simple. So happy at the way it came out. And here you have it, all my 4 glass ornaments. I am so excited to share with you this project. I had a friend come and help me learn how to use my big power tools that I've been dying to learn, but a little bit nervous to do. So here is my friend Joe. He is measuring out my piece of plywood that I've had in my stash to cut each panel. So I'm cutting it, I initially cut it down 20 inches, but had to cut it down a little bit more because in my first cut, I cut it crooked. So he's clamping it down because it's quite a big piece, and so it's just easier to hold and not have it move all over the place. And this is a skill saw, safety first. All right, he gives me an in-depth tutorial on how this works. But for your sake, I just sped it along a little bit faster. All right, here we go. Let the first cut begin. All right. So he just took my sander and just kind of sanded off any, it's kind of crooked, so we just sanded that corner a little bit. All right, we're gonna measure our second panel. Okay, getting ready for the cut. I wanna move it off my table a little bit where my line is. Get my clamps, clamp it down. This morning that we did this, it was so cold outside. My hands were frozen. Okay, so excited. So this is my first time cutting with this type of saw. And so there's a little hole in the front of it to use as your guide. You can follow that. Now you'll notice, because it's my first time, that I don't have it flush down against the wood. And I didn't notice that until after it was cut. And I didn't cut all the way through. And so he was very patient with me and just showed me what the feel of it and how to rest it down on the piece of wood, that guard. So here I go, my second attempt to cut, and all the way out. Nice. And so, because it was a little jagged, I just took my sander and just cleaned off the edge. So it wasn't working the way we wanted to. So basically we just cut off a little piece on the end because the sanding didn't work. So we just cut off, I want to say maybe 1/2 inch just to kind of clean it up a little bit. So here Joe is just measuring, making sure everything is straight. Here's a nice close-up of this line. And here we are just cutting all the panels. Make sure that all the sides are nice and straight. So you'll see that this wood, for some reason, got really crooked. So again, you'll see the line. Honestly, you don't really know what happened here. Okay, my second cut. I got the feel of it, was a little bit more confident, and I sliced it, and it was so nice and clean. So proud of myself. All right, I think this is my last panel. Readjust it, put my clamps. Now I'm feeling very confident. Here we go. All right, so now this is a table saw tutorial that he gave me, a very in-depth, detailed explanation, which I'm very thankful for. So here we put that side, I honestly don't remember what it's called, but that sidebar where we measured from that sidebar to the blade 12 inches, and we ran it alongside to make sure it was an even, clean cut. And we did the same for all 4 panels. I have attempted this so many times, and every time I tried to put it together, I came up with something that went just horribly wrong. And so after trying for 2 days, I just gave up and called my dad because I was determined to get this done. So I called my dad yesterday. He lives in Canada, and we FaceTime, and he walked me through the first corner of my box. So what I'm making here is a Christmas tree box. So instead of a skirt or instead of a wicker basket around it, I wanted to make a box with a trim around it. And so I gave him my idea, and my dad is simply amazing. The man is brilliant. Listen to me, the man is brilliant. All right. So what it's going to be, so this is the first corner, and it's on a hinge, okay? And this is the front piece, and what I wanted to do is so that it has a nice clean corner and it doesn't, nothing's gap, like there's no gap. I needed the trim to be a little bit over, and so after going back and forth, what would be the best way, I went 1/2 inch on each side. So what I have is I have my boards here, and they're 20, sorry, actually, you know what? They are about 19, yeah, 19, a little short than 19 and a half. For all you carpentry people, I'm sure you have the proper measurements and all the details. But according to me and my shortcuts, I have just a little under 19 and a half and just a little bit of 19 1/4. But you can customize this to whatever size you want. I just kind of measured the base of my tree, the little legs, and kind of gave a little bit extra. Okay, so it's 19, a little bit more than 19 1/4 by 12 inches. So 19 1/4 and 12 inches wide. So I have 4 of those, and they're 1/4 inch plywood. This is leftover from another project I did, so I didn't have to pay anything for the plywood. Now, if you don't have any type of cutting tools, you can go to Home Depot or Lowe's and have them cut them for you. All right, and then I went back to Lowe's to get my trim, and these are 1/4 inch trim, and it's in the trim section. They are 1.5 inches wide, 1/4 inch thick, and then you can decide whatever length. This was a 2-foot length, and then I also got one that was 4 foot. All right, so what I'm going to do, because I have to go of a 1/2 inch over, I will make one that is going to be flush with the entire board, no overhang right now, and then my second one I'll make extra, 1/2 inch on each side. So I'm going to measure the top first and make my top trim exactly to fit here. So this is 19 6/16. Did I do that right, Dad? 19, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6/16. All right, so I'm going to take my trim make sure that it's even on the one side. You can do it 2 ways. Sometimes I like just to take the wood and just mark it with this and then double check it with my tape measure. My dad may do something different. Yeah, looks good. All right, I'm going to take it to my chop saw and get it cut. I'm just going to give it a light sand just to clean up all the little fibers that stick out, and put it back on here to see. Perfect, nice clean cut, even on all ends. All right, so here, let's do my second one. So what I'm going to do for my second piece, I'm going to take the one I just cut and use this as my measurement. And then I will measure again. So measure twice, cut once. Okay, so what I noticed is it's like a hair too long, but you can either leave it or you can just take some sandpaper and just shave it off. If you took it back to the saw, you might cut off too much because of the width of the saw. Now, for those professionals, I'm sure they could get it exactly right and not even bat an eyelash. But I just do this for fun, and I don't want to cut off too much. Then I've wasted. Although I can use this for the side. So I'm going to go ahead and get it assembled, and then I probably just take some sandpaper and just kind of shave it down a little bit. Okay, so what I have is I have my top and my bottom piece on, and I'm going to use my clamps so that way I can measure my side panels and not have my top and bottom shifting around. Here are my big old clamps. doing these little projects, clamps are really great because, well, anytime you're doing a project, clamps are great. However, these ones are massive. They're just massive. So I think a trip to Harbor Freight is needed. All right, so make sure everything's lined up really nice. Probably gonna have to use a couple more pieces of 2x4s. These scrap pieces of wood come in very, very handy. So if you can keep them in a nice organized spot, keep those little scraps, that way you can use them for different projects or even just to help put things up. All right, so those are all nicely set. I'm gonna measure. Perfect fit. All right, I'm going to take this piece again and cut my second side. Nice. Fits like a glove. Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to sand them up, stain them, and then assemble, and then we'll get my second piece on there. Okay, so what I'm using for my stain is dark walnut. I've used this for other projects, and I had stained the plywood panels, well, in my first attempt to try to make this video. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put a small coat, light coat on there, and then let it dry. Don't forget your gloves. I didn't have any the last time, and my fingers were all sticky and stained up. Thank God for Dawn's soap. Okay, so I didn't realize that my camera died until after. So I did all the second panel, but I just wanted to explain to you really quick. So the second panel is going to be like the first panel, and there's going to be an overhang of the trim by 1/2 inch on all sides. So what I did is I measured what my measurements were on this. Sometimes wood kind of, if you don't do a perfect cut, even though I said 19¼ by 12, I just double check and make sure. Then what I did is whatever the measurement was there, I added an inch, and then I cut it to size. I did the top and the bottom. These are all stained, so I don't want to touch them. I did the top, and I put the top on, the bottom on, and then I measured for the size. And when I put it all together, you'll see a little bit of 1/2 inch overhang on all sides. Okay, so you'll also notice that, plywood and wood just, shifts a little bit, and it's a little bit crooked. But once I put the trim on there, it's going to create that nice stability, and so you don't have to worry about that too much. Now, this is just a rustic box that's going to go underneath my tree, so I'm not going to be that particular about every little thing. Now, if I were to sell something like this, or do a gift, or do something that I would want to make sure that it was professionally done, I would put way more time into the cuts and the details in it. But because I like that rustic look, I like that look underneath my tree, I'm not gonna, stress too much about it. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna put all my sides together. They're not 100% dry, but I'm a little bit impatient here. So I'm gonna just lay it out again. I'm not gonna glue it yet. So I'm gonna just make sure everything's lining up good and line it up perfect. Awesome. Very happy with the way it turned out. Okay, so I'm gonna get my wood glue and assemble. Another tip that I learned from my dad, because the man is brilliant. Did I tell you? The man is brilliant. Take off any little stickers on the back because it could let go of the wood glue or whatever, but just a good habit to get into. If you forget, it's not the end of the world. Okay, because my wood is so thin, I have a 1/4 inch plywood, 1/4 inch trim. My nails are a little bit, tiny bit over. So what I did is I turned it over and I hammered the little nails going with the grain. It just gives it it just folds into the wood better. Also, I noticed that it kind of split the wood a bit, but because it's the back, nobody's gonna see it. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. I'm sure that if you had maybe a thicker piece of plywood, you wouldn't have that problem, or smaller, shorter nails. And then this one nail is giving me a headache, so. Okay, let me do the bottom. Actually, you know what? No, let me do the sides first. Oh, there's another piece of tape. And I'm just using my brad nailer. I love this thing. I got it from Harbor Freight. And I believe I'm using 5/8 nails, brad nails in here. Okay, so here I am. I'm getting ready to glue the trim on that's going to have the overhang. So I didn't put my glue all the way to the end because I didn't want any extra. And one thing that you have to remember is if there's any glue that's kind of poking out or spilling out, make sure you wipe that clean because you don't want that to dry and clump up. Okay, so I am going to just place it on here. And I'm going to get my measuring. I forgot glue. Okay, so I have my finished back panel and my finished side panel. So this is the one that I did with my dad step by step. And so, okay, so that's the front and this is the left side. Okay, so what I did is I just took my other side, and I make sure it fit in there, and then I put the back. Okay, so because I want to be able to slide this in underneath my tree, I don't really want to, I guess you can just plop the bottom of your tree in there if you're doing like an artificial tree, or even if it's a real tree, you can still do the same. But I wanted to make this so that I could store it when the season is done. So that's why I created 2 separate sections on hinges so I could fold it for easy storage. I got these hinges from Lowe's. You could probably find them anywhere. I think I even see them on Hobby Lobby. They're 3/4 inch by 1 inch little hinges, and I'm just using 2 per side. So I have 2 top and the bottom on that side, and then I'm going to put 2 top and the bottom on this side. Now, the trick is to making sure that you're giving your little bit extra for that 1/2 inch of the trim that's went over. I'm hoping that I'm explaining that properly. So what I did is I made sure it was all lined up good, and then I stuck my hinge on the top, and I actually kind of just drew it up. I just outlined it because I need to lay it flat so I can put in my screws. And then on the other piece too. So I just had my son come and help me hold it so I can put it in there properly. So I'm going to go ahead and put one side in, and then I will put them all together. Now, when I thought about how I'm going to clamp it all together, I had a couple ideas. Some of them obviously didn't work. So I think I'm going to get some little L brackets, and I'm going to just put them in there for temporary, and then when I disassemble the box, I'll just take them out and leave the screws in, keep them all together so I can set up again next year. So that's an option as well. If you think of any other options that might work, please comment in the bottom and let me know what you think would be a great way to attach the whole box together. All right, let's put our hinges on. To pre-drill my holes, I'm not going in very far because these screws are so tiny. I'm just basically creating a tiny little bit of hole just so I can get the screw in there a little bit, because they're itty bitty and they want to flip and flop everywhere. And it's a cold, rainy California day and my fingers are not cooperating with me. Now this step right here, when you're putting the hinges on the angle, you might need to get some help. I asked Christopher to come help me, so he's gonna come and be the master wood holder. So Christopher, just hold it like this, and I'm gonna drill it. So don't move it, please. You think you can handle that?
No, it's too hard.
Okay.
How long's the video?
All right, hang on to it.
When you kiss your little baby.
Ah! Voila!
You're done? Woo! I helped.
Awesome, I'm so excited. All right. So happy how it turned out. I'm gonna go put it underneath my tree. If it stands up nice, I might not even have to use anything because it's already on its hinge. It's at, oops. And it might just work out perfect. All right, let's go inside and see how it looks. So here it is underneath my tree. I am so thrilled on how it looks. And the perfect thing about it is that I can just set it in there and not worry about it. Now, if you've got animals, small children, you may want to secure it maybe a little bit more. But my kids are older and I don't have any animals. And so what I did is I basically just took this, stuffed in some drop cloth that I've gotten some from Lowe's, in the painter section, and I just kind of put it in there. What I might do is create more fluff and put some pillows in there or something, or some old blankets, and lift it up so you can see it. I put the back square or the back panel in, and then I open this up, and then I just place it in where it belongs, and fit it in the corner here, fit it in this corner here, and voila, it's all set. And I'm so excited. Hopefully you can take these plans and build yourself a box. Again, you can go to Lowe's and get them to cut down the sizes that you want. You can get the strip, the trim from the trim section at any hardware store, and you can just get a miter box and do your cuts. And then you could use just some hot glue or some wood glue and clamp it if you don't have the tools. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'd love to hear your ideas and love to hear your comments. And have a Merry Christmas.